On the consent agenda, the board approved $587,000 contract for the construction of a 2.6-mile greenway along the FPL easement between Radio Road and Rattlesnake Hammock Road. Transportation's Jay Ahmad explains what the greenway will look like.
The pathway is a multi-use trail for bicycles, for pedestrians to use and enjoy. It's very much similar to the pathway on the east side of Collier Boulevard. This pathway will go along the FPL Greenway, which extends essentially for 2.6 miles from Rattlesnake Hammock Road north to Radio Road. It'll be about 12 feet wide, and it'll be asphaltic material, and people can enjoy. And eventually, it's almost a linear park that Parks and Recs will maintain and operate.
Construction will begin in a few weeks and should be finished around the end of the year. Well, it's time for a break. When we come back, the board honors Parker Hannafin as the Business of the Month. And the Commission takes the first step in approving the FY11 budget. All of that and more when Collier Focus continues.
Wow, that was some day. I've learned a lot about safety since then. Hi, I'm Joey Logano, driving a number 20 Home Depot Camry. I've also learned that safe digging is no accident. A free call to 811 before you dig gets underground utility lines marked so this doesn't happen. Know where it's safe to dig. Avoid hitting underground lines, losing utility services, or worse, causing injury. Safety always comes first. Call 811 before you dig.
Like lightning on the Great Plains, a spark ignites the imagination of a young 4-H member named Ryan. As a teenager, Ryan explores the wonders of nature. As a young man, he experiments, discovering new possibilities. As a scientist, Ryan uses a new technology to detect an invisible tumor in a little girl's eye. The 4-H commitment of fostering 1 million new scientists and engineers is being embraced by companies and universities around the country. With their help, 4-H is growing the next generation of great thinkers like Ryan. 4-H, 1 million new scientists, 1 million new ideas.
Welcome back to Collier Focus. The board approved a month-by-month contract with ATS, the company who operates the county's red light photo enforcement program. A new state law has gone into effect which now determines the fine amount for a red light photo infraction, which is $158 per violation. Currently, $75 from each fine would go to the county, and the board is trying to make sure that that is the right amount to keep the program cost neutral.
The board approved today is for a cost neutral program. Essentially, they allowed staff to negotiate for what the cost of the county is, and the remainder of the money essentially goes to the state or to the vendor for a month-to-month period. This period would allow us to get some data on how much the vendor gets and what kind of input we get from the violations. It also will allow us, when we go to an RFP, request for proposal in the future, it would give us some data to judge the best value for the county.
The new law effectively prohibits the issuance of right-on-red violations using the cameras. The new contract requires ATS to pay the county $8,250 per month for the right to operate the cameras in the county. Clarence Tiers of the Big Cypress Basin Board briefed the board on the current conditions of the area's surface water management system, along with rainy season and hurricane preparedness. In recent years, both the Big Cypress Basin and the county have made great strides in improving storm water management. But believe it or not, what you do still makes the difference.
You know, everybody tries to put the leaves and garbage in the middle of a swale. Well, the swale is the first area that water wants to go to. And also, I see a lot of people, the yard maintenance, blowing the vegetation into the street. Well, it ends up in the gutter, it fills up in the drains, and you start to have sedimentation build up. And over time, it reduces the conveyance of the system in the neighborhoods.
Jeffrey Mobius, retired CEO at Physicians Regional, updated the board on the progress being made by the Blue Ribbon Panel on pre-hospital emergency medical services. Mobius is the chairman of the independent panel.
We've had 4 meetings since April 12th that have EMS, fire, hospitals, including Lee Memorial, and the emergency room physicians, and also the sheriff's office has been involved with this. And we divided into some subcommittees to look at what the issues we had presented back on the 23rd of February to the county commissioners. And those 3 issues was coming up with a structure, how to deal with the issues, the supply and communication issue, and then also looking at a review of the data that's available here in Collier County. What we found was there's a lack of communication, and that we suggested a panel be made up similar to this panel here that we've already put together that can look through it, which would also help in the communications. And also then with that new panel, we would be able to deal with the supply issue and also communications with the hospitals. Hospitals were very supportive of this. When we looked at the data, and that was headed up by Chief Bloom of the Sheriff's Office, we used the information out of the dispatch center. We thought that that was the most accurate information and could give us the best information possible. Looking at that, after looking at that, we did a search and found through Florida Gulf Coast University a professor up there, actually Dr. Zidek, and she is an expert in industrial engineering, which is what we need to look at the times, ambulances just not in getting to scene, but also then going to the hospital and back, making sure that that information, looking at all of these data points, making sure that they were correct. Also looking at overlaps of different divisions. How is the dispatch center working? What are our times? And how can we ensure that throughout the county we can develop a system that can deliver BLS services within 4 minutes and ALS within 8 minutes. So they've approved the study, which is good, and so we will now be moving forward on that.
The panel will report back to the board again in September. Bureau of Emergency Services Director Dan Summers briefed the board with the latest information regarding the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. At the time of this recording, the short-term forecast keeps oil away from our coast. In the event that oil does reach our waters, there are several plans in place. Chairman Fred Coyle warned that BP and federal help may fall short of the mark.
When we had Hurricane Wilma here, this county was pretty much self-sufficient. Yes, you had planned everything properly. We got everything done. When some of our supplies that were promised to us by the state disappeared and we couldn't get what we needed, we compensated and we got the job done, and you did a really, really good job. It's no surprise to anybody in this room that the people in Louisiana and the Panhandle of Florida are not happy with what's happening with their state and federal responders, and I have no doubt that the same thing would happen here. And it might even be worse because a lot of the resources might very well have been used up further north if it ever gets here. And I think the worst possible scenario we could be faced with is a hurricane that comes in from the Gulf and drives some of that oil ashore. Yes, sir. Here. I am not aware of anything we've ever done with respect to trying to clean up oil or block the oil from entering our estuaries with hurricane force winds anticipated. I don't know what we do with that, and that's my real concern. I am confident that you can handle the standard hurricane preparation processes and or the oil issue. The problem is what happens if one causes the other. The hurricane drives some of that oil eastward to the shores of Collier County.
The Bureau of Emergency Services is meeting with all coastal organizations to work together in exploring possible solutions to any oil spill-related problems. A great source for the very latest information on the spill is our website, colliergov.net.